Hello there, Floralpreneurs. It's I, Alison Ellis, here for a live stream. It's 2021. It's my first live stream here in our big group. I've been live every week over in my Art of Good Business group. So it's not my first live stream of the year, but it is my first live stream here. So thank you so much for tuning in, whether you're watching live or you're watching on a replay. If you see my eyes darting all over the place, I'm opening up screens here, the one woman show. Just want to make sure the video said I was actually playing in the group, and it says I am. So thanks for tuning in. Feel free to leave a comment, say hi, let me know where you're watching from, how your Valentine's Day was, anything that's on your mind. It's always good to know who you are and where you're coming from. Today, what I wanted to do is address a question that I get a lot all of a sudden. I've seen this question asked over the years, of course. It's not like it came out of nowhere. But recently, I'm seeing this question asked over and over and over again. So I wanted to hop in here today to just address this question, which is, should I be charging for proposals? That's a question that I've seen asked more just in the past like 5 weeks than I've seen in many, many years. So it's something that's obviously on your minds. And when there's something on your mind, I want to make sure that I address it to the best of my ability. So first, I want to just introduce myself since we are into February and this is my first live stream of the year. I am Alison Ellis of realflowerbusiness.com. I am a floral designer and a floral educator, which is something a lot of people call themselves, a floral educator. But that's what I am. I teach the business side of the floral industry to floral designers, flower farmers, home studio florists, florists who have brick and mortar shops, anybody who wants to run a modern day floral design business, especially if you focus on weddings. That's what I love to do and what I love to talk about. So today, what I want to talk about is, should you charge for proposals? And this is something you may already have a pretty strong feeling about. You may already sort of know or have a notion of whether or not that will work for you. So I really want to just dive right into it and the things that you want to really consider when you're asking this question, should I charge for proposals? So first of all, why would you charge for a proposal would be, right? The first question you want to be able to answer for yourself. Do you give out a really amazing proposal and therefore there's value to it, right? Is that why you want to charge for it? Is it that you want to charge for a proposal because when you're sending out proposals, you're not hearing back? And so you think, well, if the customer had to pay for it, then what? Then they would reply to you and book you, or at least you wouldn't feel like you wasted your time, right? Like, what is you've been watching me for a while, even though I haven't been here live, even though I've been homeschooling, so I can't do my live streams as regularly. If you've been watching me for a while, you know that it's all about the intention, right? What's your intention for charging for this proposal? So it's a special kind of trick, right? It's a special kind of trick to be able to charge for proposals. There are some florists right here in my group who charge for proposals, right? They're like, I charge for a proposal. You can't get a proposal from me until you give me money, right? Though that's a special trick. That is not going to happen for most floral designers, right? Because again, you got to think about, what is it that the customer is going to get? Why would they do this? Why do they want to pay? And think about your own buying and shopping habits, right? Would you want to pay to get a quote for, I put down some notes here. Like, let's just say you're a business owner, right? If you need a new website, do you want to get a quote from somebody on what it's going to cost to do a website? Or would you be willing to pay for that quote? Would you be willing to pay the web designer? Feel free to answer me. You could say yes, no, thumbs up, thumbs down. Would you pay a web designer for a quote to tell you how much it costs for you to pay them to do a website for you. So this, I think, is a good and fair comparison for a couple of reasons. One, we all know the benefits of hiring somebody, right, to work on a website for us versus having to do it ourselves. And oftentimes a website could be comparable to I'll just call it average wedding floral budget, right? So if you had to pay $4,500, right, for a new website, or you might pay $3,000 for a new website, would you pay $75 for them to give you a quote and tell you what it'll cost? Would you, like what would really be your motivation to pay them? Would they get away with that? Should they? I would say just arguably, right, the web designer knows as much or, has as much value and skill, right, as we do. So should we charge for a proposal, but they shouldn't, right? So I just want us to be like in alignment, right, with ourselves, with why, right? What's our intention? And are we the type of person who can command that? There may be web designers who do that. There could be web designers, just like there are florists who do it, who are like, we'll do a quote for you. This is how much it costs for a quote, right? But again, what does the customer get? There's got to be something that they get in that paid consultation time that's, I'm just going to say, more than what I give, more than the amount of time I invest. So I see some comments coming in. I'm going to read them in just a second. I want to go back to the intention, right? Are we asking, should I charge for proposals because your proposal is valuable? Or is it because you're wasting time and you're trying to sort of like, well, what would fix this? What would make me feel better? Not necessarily what would serve the customer better or what would serve your business better, right? Sometimes we do ask questions out of frustration. So I'm not judging you if you're like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I was saying that because I was mad, not because I really provide value, right? But some people do. Some people really do put a lot of time and effort into a quote. And so then when you do get ghosted, when you do not hear back from somebody, you have overinvested, right? And so there is that feeling of like I should be paid for this. Okay, so there are two sides to the story always. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Hi, I'm here, Central Florida. It's 70 degrees outside. Oh, you're so lucky. It's nice and snowy here. Hello from Chicago. Snow. I'm so frustrated writing great proposals and losing to another florist who takes my ideas. All right, so we can talk about that. Let's see. Somebody says, probably not. Let's see. Somebody says, so that's would you pay for a web designer? Probably not. If the web designer was giving me details, images, and design details, yes. Okay, so somebody would pay for it. So then, what would you pay for it? What would you expect to get, right? So you would expect to get details, images, and design details, right? So for me, I don't charge for proposals. I don't give that, right? So everyone has to see, like, are you willing to do this much work? Like, I wouldn't be willing to do that much work necessarily for, again, what would you charge for this proposal? Would you charge 75? Would you charge 150? For me, it'd be worth more than 75 or 150 for me to put together details, images, and all that kind of stuff, right? So just think about it. Maybe your proposal's $350. Maybe that's what it costs. Okay. You do you. You can figure out what works for you. But you just need to know, again, what is the customer getting? Is there value behind this, right? Let's see. Somebody says, I'm also wondering about people who come to the consultation with no ideas at all. Do they need pre-qualifying education, what things cost? These people are purely looking at cost. Sometimes that may be true. Hello from Denver. Hello, Denver. All right, clients get 2 proposals. All right, here's a nice one. Initial is a ballpark, and if they want to move forward, then we move forward with images, line item, etc., and more in-depth consultation. I let them know that this is what they can expect. Yeah, that's a lot of how I handle it too. It's sort of like you have stages, stages of booking. So you guys have to, you have to know for yourself how much information you're willing to give somebody before they've paid you. If the answer is none, then do it, right? But you need to ask yourself a couple of questions, right? Like, so how booked are you right now? Are you so booked right now that you really can pick and choose your customers? If you can pick and choose your customers, then you could probably charge for a proposal, right? Like if you're crazy in demand, turning people away, why not, right? Then maybe it's like, yes, listen, our calendar is booked, but we are taking consultations. Here's the fee to reserve the consultation, okay? And then what does that get? All right, so that's why this question has like a lot of layers to it. So then what? Does that proposal amount get applied towards your total balance? Most of the florists that I've talked to who do this, the answer is yes, right? So it's basically like a small deposit that makes sure you're not going to get stood up maybe for the consultation, or you're not going to hand over something to them without paying. You can decide like, what are these parameters? But then what happens? Like, do they literally pay you for the proposal and then they could go anywhere and have anybody do the proposal? Maybe, right? Maybe that's what all of a sudden you're selling. I'll write you a proposal. Here's the cost. And then they take it and they bring it someplace else and they go, I paid for this. I bought this proposal, right? Maybe you don't mind that, or maybe you do. So at what point? Or do they just simply have to put you under contract and then they get a proposal, So how are you going to tee this up so that the customer says, oh, that's agreeable to me. I don't mind doing that. And doesn't say, well, I just talked to two other florists and it says right on their websites, they do free consultations. So why would I pay if I can get it for free? Maybe there's a reason. You just have to know that reason. Why would they pay? All right, let's see. Some more comments coming in here. How many times should we just stop on revising this proposal? I have many brides who kept going back and forth. Yeah. So to me, this is where we develop a personal boundary. And I like to consider that I'll make one change before they have to move forward. Usually we don't make any changes. Every now and again, like my most recent client that I booked, they just needed the budget to come down a little bit. So even though I gave a quote on the centerpieces that I felt was like the price I wanted to charge, I was able to come down $20 on each centerpiece. And in doing so, also made sure to let the customer know. And so what this means is you can't actually pick your container anymore. We're just doing glass, right? So there's a give and take. And, I revised the quote and then they booked right away. So to me, if it's something that simple, it's like a no-brainer. But if it's, well, we want to go and we want to change this and this and this and this, really that first interaction, right? So there's that email that I get from them. There's the setting up of the consultation. That's when we're setting all of these expectations, right? So I'll send you an initial quote. We can change, you can change your color palette. You don't have to be locked into any of this stuff. But as long as we have a good rapport, right? Like we're getting along well and you can afford the minimum that I'm setting on this, then we can move forward. If that works for you, put me under contract and then we get into the nitty gritty from there. Then we can decide, do you want peach or do you not want peach? Do you want hydrangea or do you not like hydrangea? We can figure that out later. We don't need to know that now, but I do need to know that you're going to meet my minimum and that you're willing to pay that and that that's not too much money for you where you're going to be actually not able to afford this when push comes to shove. I want to be an easy yes, in other words. That's where I'm at. So if it's not an easy yes, if they're like, could you change this? Could you change this? Could you change this? That to me means that your customers, if that's happening a lot, you're not attracting the customer that's the right fit just yet. or you're not establishing that boundary clearly enough before they get into your, like what I like to call it is like your web of awesomeness, right? Like once they get into your inbox and now you're razzle dazzling them with the way that you walk them through your booking process, right? All the way to the part where you close the sale, where you follow up to close the sale. That's, if they're pushing back a lot, you want to back up in your process and figure out how you can stop them from getting into your web of awesomeness and draining your awesomeness. Because that's what happens when the wrong people get in the web of awesomeness. They're just sort of like clogging up the works, right? So we don't want to do that. We want to like back up. So, this is the stuff that, so this question, again, because it's been asked so much, kind of dovetails with a chat that we were having yesterday that I was listening to over on Clubhouse that Holly Chappell was hosting with Sam Jacobson of ID Action Consulting. And with Sean Lowe, sorry. She's hosting something with Sam on Friday. She was with Sean Lowe yesterday. And what they were talking about was, not itemizing. He was talking a lot about not itemizing quotes. So I happen to itemize my quotes. Some people are like, you shouldn't do that. I have sent quotes that are not itemized, but I decided to switch back to itemizing. I can change at any time though, right? Like I have different ways that I can send information because again, back to the like, what if they're asking for multiple revisions? When the client is, you can tell they're price shopping, give them less information, right? When the client is a strong referral from a venue that you love to work at, right? Like when my favorite venue sends me a strong, great referral, I am willing to do a little bit more for that customer to book that customer, right? So we need to, again, be aligned with ourselves and where we are in our business and also where the customer is on their journey. When someone is clearly like, can you give me a price? And then here you are pouring your heart into a proposal and then you don't hear back. Again, back it up to what could you do that is more in line with what that customer is really looking for. Just a bottom line. Can they afford you? What's your minimum before you even, pass go? So that, we really need to be in touch with our own process and how this works. So yesterday during the conversation on Clubhouse, the question kept coming up, but then how do you do this? What does it look like? So I'm putting that together today, right after this chat. So this afternoon, if you're in my Patreon group, you'll get to see this. I'm going to put it over there for all members. Even if you just join at the $3 level, I'm going to share this with you because it's a big question. People go, but how? How do you do it? What does it look like if I'm giving less information? All right. So I'm going to walk you through exactly what that will look like. So that'll be there today. So Patreon is actually where I share. If you are not familiar with Patreon, it's a platform that's not Facebook. You can access it from your phone, access it from your email, right on your computer. You can get creative information from creatives. It's where people go to create. And it's where I teach people how to book great clients. It's really where I share the behind the scenes stuff of all the factors that go into booking, right? Backing it up beyond the proposal, right? Before you get that far, how do you make sure you're only investing your time with people who are the right fit? There's always going to be somebody who slips through the cracks, right? You're going to send a quote and not hear back. You're going to get an inquiry from somebody who cannot afford it. Okay, that's going to happen. But how do we make sure that we, more times than not, right, have the right people, don't have the wrong people? And that's what I call the keys to booking great clients, right? So I teach a lot of all this behind the scenes stuff over there. And like I said, today I'm going to share how you can share even less information with a client. Because if you're desperate to stop itemizing, if that is the cause of the going back and forth, right? Again, I itemize. I don't mind itemizing because I don't have people coming back and forth. Like, yes, I had a client who I booked recently who needed me to like back out the centerpiece price, right? But when she also wanted me to back out something else, I wouldn't do that. I can't back that out. That's as low as it'll go. This is what I can do. This is the closest I can get to that. So let me know if that works. And then guess what? It worked, right? So it can't just be this sort of like take it or leave it way that we present things. But again, I don't get pushback. I don't have people saying, well, why is this much and why is this that much? If I did, I probably would be like, you know what, I'm going to stop itemizing. Okay. So everyone, again, align with your own self, right? Where do you fall? What do you need? Okay, let's see. In our market, designers are putting out very detailed proposals for free. Yeah, that's going to happen. Same here. It says Denver, do you talk about your business in the first stage and give a ballpark, get them interested? Well, that is something that, again, it's going to depend on how they come into my business, right? So if it's a referral, so again, I'll just go back to this actual client I'm talking about, the one I booked most recently, actual referral from one of my favorite venues, right? So I didn't say, hey, what's your floral budget? Because it's a day I'm not booked. It's this year, later in the fall when I'm feeling like, okay, this is possible. And if I'm focused on budget at that point, I'm not focused on the right thing. You know, I want to serve this venue's client. I don't want this venue's client to come up against a wall. By the way, if I had said what I normally do say as a minimum for this venue, would have been way too expensive, would have been at least $1,000 too expensive. However, because I didn't talk about budget too early, because I'm going off of what I already know, then what I'm able to do is talk, get the rapport, send out the quote, and it was still about $1,000 over their budget. However, through a little bit of finagling, we're able to get it so it's only $500 over their budget. Now, I am willing to bet that they will actually go all the way to the original quote by the time we get to the wedding. However, if they have a smaller wedding because things aren't as open as we hope, that $500 more than they wanted to spend, I could back that out. You know, I could back it down to maybe even their ideal number, but I'm probably not gonna. I don't need to be like, oh, we'll back it down 20% or, you know, whatever some people have as their like, oh, here's how low you can go. We might just stick with that, right? So we need to, while I love automate, right? Like I got my email templates. It tells you like, if I am going to present the budget, if there's, let's just say, okay, I got an inquiry from somebody who's at a new venue. They don't even want the full kit and caboodle, right? They don't even want centerpieces. So I'm going to introduce to them a minimum so that they understand that like I might not be the right fit for them if they want me to drive all the way to their venue, because I need them to be all in with me if I'm going to be all in on my Saturday with them, right? So that's where we want to have the template kind of feeling that I like to use, but I still am writing every single actual reply. I'm not actually copying and pasting, even though I'm the template person. I don't do that because it is nice to make sure everybody has a clear and custom reply. Even if I already know exactly what I'm going to say, even I can rattle off for you exactly how I will tell them what the budget is, what the minimum spend is. If you're willing to spend this, then I will come, right? Then we can talk. I'm still typing it out for each client so that they know, like I know that they're getting a custom reply. Alison, you're so good at words. How do you tell someone they aren't your client? Okay, well, so I include that in my email templates too. It will depend. And again, you know, I think when we're really doing this well, when we're backing it back, right, before the proposal, before should we charge for the quote, it's about how we attract them. And so I think that I do a good job of repelling the wrong client before they even contact me. So I don't have to tell somebody they're not the right fit after we talk. I can tell them that beforehand. So I do that. Again, I share really in depth how I do this in my Patreon training. So what I really do is make sure I'm pre-qualifying with my inquiry form, but I'm not making it so it's not a barrier. My inquiry form isn't like all these required fields and you must tell me all these things. It's an invitation. So, what would make somebody not my client? Feel free to give me an example. What makes somebody not your client? For me, it might be if someone's like, you know what, I really love blue orchids and baby's breath, right? I would probably be like, that's really not something that I recommend. I don't like it. It's not my style. I would rather not work with dyed blue orchids. I tend to not buy them. So I don't think I'm the right fit for this, right? So either I would do that, right? Or explain to them what is a better option and try to turn them into a customer. But there's something about that blue orchid customer, right, that isn't my customer. So I don't need to necessarily turn this person around or change their taste or even, quote unquote, educate them, right? Because they like what they like. They should get what they like. They just might not get it from me. Something else that might make somebody not my customer might be just a general vibe. If they're like, seem like not a nice person. Again, I don't really get that. So the how do we tell somebody they're not an ideal client? Yes, sometimes we have to tell them in an email, like, I don't think I'm the right person for this job, or I don't think I'm the right fit for this project, or this style just isn't in line with, what I do best. But if we can really be clear about that in our branding and our messaging, our website, everything we do, right? Every touch point, customers start to weed themselves out, right? They start to recognize that this is not for them. They start to get that point. And the clearer we go up, right? The more clear we are, the easier it is for customers to engage with us. All right, I see an amen here. Thank you. I keep seeing blogs and articles recommending couples to spend 5% on floral budget. Flowers often get beat up in the process. It's like we're treated like we're the only perishable part of the wedding, for example. The entire day is perishable. It is a day of perishable things. Even the wedding dress, which is technically not perishable, will only be worn once, right? So we get this weird, bad rap of being not worth stuff. So, that's where I define, again, like right on my contact form, what people might expect to spend for a budget. So that if someone's hoping to spend 5%, they'll be like, well, this person doesn't recommend that, So they can say, she doesn't know what she's talking about. I read it's only 5%. Let's see. I feel I can't really talk minimums in this environment with COVID. A lot of people who canceled and lost money last time. Okay, that's a really, really good point. I'm glad you brought up. COVID is like this umbrella over everything we're doing, right? It just is. So I tend to agree with you. That is actually why I did decide to take the $20 off the centerpieces for that most recent quote, because it struck me that she may not have as many tables, frankly, as she thought. And so this is probably actually going to be enough money for what I think will really end up happening. And it's smaller than my normal minimum, but not by that much. And it's a lot more than zero. It's like 500 below my minimum and 2,500 above zero. Right? So I think we need to be realistic about running our business, which goes back to the, should you charge for proposals? Can you get away with that? Will people actually respond to that? Do people want what you are offering so much that they want to pay for it, even though they can get it for free from somebody else? Or when you say, should I charge for proposals, is what you really mean, how do I stop investing so much time? How do I stop giving too much detail? How do I stop putting so much of myself and my imagination into a client when they're not that into me, right? So just make sure you know what you are really asking. Align yourself, right? Am I really trying to figure out how I stop wasting time, or do I really provide something of value that I think people will pay for and happily, right? We want people to pay us happily, not begrudgingly. We don't want them to pay us and be like, I'm paying you for this, read it, right? I don't feel good about it. We want them to feel good all the time with us. That's what we do. Okay, I itemize proposals, but minimize details to give myself more freedom in flower choice since I have a flower farm. That's perfect. A few florists that I supply have transitioned to that model, help save time on writing the proposals and gives the florist more flexibility in sources. Somebody else says, me too, but I get from farms. Yes, you definitely want to, I mean, this is even part of my contract, right? Is like, I can make substitutions. I don't have to give you exactly what's in this quote. But I find that the less detail you give, sometimes the clearer the quote is. They don't have to get caught up in like, well, what's Lysianthus, or what's, they don't have to look things up. They can just trust, right? That this general information that you gave them is enough. The trust factor is huge. So again, backing up before the should I charge for a proposal, what can you do to pre-qualify, develop trust and authority in the relationship so that when you send a quote, it is received in a way that is to say yes to? That's I think really what we're getting at, at the heart of all this is not, customers should be paying me for this. It's how do I stop wasting my time on customers that could never afford me in the first place? That's a lot of what that question means to me. That's a lot of what that question means to me. Somebody else says, I itemize the items and not the prices. Sure, and that's another way to do it, right? So, it becomes interesting to me, though, when we go, well, so I itemize, I don't itemize the price, but I itemize the pieces. Everybody's going to have a different little flair that you might put on whether you itemize a quote or don't itemize a quote. So I do, I share a lot, again, about how I do my quotes. I have a template called How to Write Proposals That Sell, and that shows you how I put together what I call a really basic quote. It looks pretty, right? Like you can make this yourself in any program, whether you use a program that's like a special floral software, or you just do things like I do, like with a Google Doc or with a Pages or a Word doc. Like you can make a quote that is a sales tool, right? Because that's what your quote is. It's a sales tool for you, but without putting in so much time that you're going, I just gave them every flower, every color, a full description of what's going to be in everything. And now they didn't even write back to me, right? We don't want to burn out like that. So you want to make your proposal something that you feel like you're giving enough information, but you're not giving away your heart, right? You're not giving away everything that's in your head and everything that's in your heart to a client who's just not that into you yet, right? And that doesn't make the client a bad person. It just means that maybe, again, we want to look at ourselves. We don't want to always be like kind of looking outward and being like, these customers, they're uneducated and they're reading this 5% number, right? Or they have no respect, right? I tell you, I get no respect. We don't want to approach our jobs and our customers like that, right? That's toxic to us, right? It's so bad. We got to love our customers. It's so important to love up on our customers. So how can we do that more? Well, sometimes it requires being a little bit self-critical and being like, okay, what do I do on my end that's letting this person think it's okay to ask me for 10 changes? What do I do on my end that's not allowing me to know what this person's budget is or what their expectations are before I spent 3 hours writing a quote. Some people I know spend 5 hours or 8 hours writing a proposal. So if, that's where you start to feel like I should be charging for this, right? But we want to create bridges, not walls for our clients. We don't want them to get here and be like, yep, it's this much for a quote. And they're like, but but I don't know. But what if I don't like it? Or what happens to that money? Like, we have to be able to answer, here's what you'll get. Oh, well, we could do a call for free. I'm just not going to put anything in writing for you unless you want to pay for a quote. Oh, okay. Right. There has to be some understanding that they understand you're the right choice for them. Like, would you want to pay to find out what a caterer charges? Would they pay to find out what a caterer charges? I don't know. Maybe some people would. I could not have afforded to pay a caterer to tell me how much it would cost to cater my wedding. So yeah, there's that. Okay, let's see. I realized that you have to do some work on the front end. Just don't put in a lot of work and time. And then yes, vetting is so important. Yes, it's true. We learn through doing. That's like, we're humans, right? That's what we do. So we write a quote. The first quote you wrote maybe didn't get accepted, right? How many people wrote your first quote and didn't book the wedding, right? Or like you at a certain point in my business, I would send out quotes and like maybe half would get accepted, maybe half wouldn't, right? So you start to see what works. And what works best is when I show up as who I am in my business, when I have an integrity brand, when I have that street cred behind me where people trust me. When we get on the phone for that initial consultation, they already kind of dig me, and they got to see me on my website. They got to see a video of me. They've seen my work, right? They've read my voice because I show up and I talk about myself. I talk about them. So that makes it easier than when I say to them, well, here's the price. They go, well, let me see what she says if I tell her I need it to go down a little bit. And then I come back and I say, yeah, here's what we can do. And they go, okay, great, right? Because they didn't get another quote from somebody else. They didn't shop around. They could have found somebody cheaper. They wanted me. And that's, at the end of the day, what this all really comes down to is, how do you get so that the client wants to book you, your company, right? It doesn't have to be you, the person. It can be you, your company. But how do you get there? And that I just want to end with as being like, that's what you're really asking when you say, should I charge for proposals? What you're really saying is, how do I get people to just pick me for me? And that takes time, work on your part, right? And it takes showing up, showing up and taking a look inside, right? Inside at what are you doing? What's your process? And how do you bring people in? So when you do that, when you really get in touch with your process, as I like to say, your processes, when you get in touch with that, that's when booking becomes easier. So again, I just want to let you know, if you want to see how I am going to break down a non-itemized quote, but still give the client options, I am going to have that up in my Patreon group this afternoon. There are different tiers on Patreon. So you can join for literally just $3. That means like, hey, Alison, I like what you do. I think you're worth $3 of my money to maybe share some tips with me on a monthly basis, right? You can unsubscribe anytime, by the way. $9 gives you like all my keys to booking great clients. You get a ton of information at the $9 level, like a ton. And then at the $19 level, you get all of the videos to booking great clients, and you also get a transcript of a real phone consultation. So it's a full transcript of a real call with both a client and their mother. So a bride and a mother of a bride. So you can see how that conversation unfolds, what we talk about, what we don't talk about. And, then I end up sending them a quote and, of course, booking the wedding. And then in the $29 level, that's my marketing mavens level. You get all of the everything. You'll have all of the lessons from the last 15 months. But you also get monthly social media and blog prompts. So you'll know you get a topic for every week. I always send out 5 every month. So even if there's 4 weeks in the month, you get 5 prompts. Just to give you some idea, some overarching plan for what it is you want to talk about on your social media, how you do show up, again, backing it up to getting that know, like, and trust factor. It starts with all that showing up and showing up authentically and having something meaningful that you share, not just like, here's a picture of where I am today. Here's a selfie of me today. Here's a reel where I'm pointing to the screen. I'm pointing and I'm pointing and I'm pointing. All right. So anyway, I want to point you towards my Patreon training. If you would like to really get some more tips and behind the scenes, like actual look at what I do to book clients when I send that email, you know, should you send them the budget? I address that right in that training. So even at the $3 level, you get a ton of stuff in there, you guys. I've left a lot of videos in that $3 tier for you, including my blog challenge and building your dream into a business plan. You're going to find all kinds of stuff in there. So do consider joining me there. It's super affordable, super affordable, super affordable. And you can drop it anytime. There's no commitment because I know commitment is hard to earn. So let's see. I see. Hi, we'll rewatch later. Sorry, Allison, just ordered my Mother's Day sundries. Super organized. So glad I found you. First of all, cheered. You ordered Mother's Day stuff? Like, hello, Valentine's Day just finished. Glad I found you, my flower godmother. People call me that sometimes. I think that's so sweet. Our flower godmother. So much more confident in myself. And when they say, I trust you, it's fabulous. That is so true. When a customer trusts you, you can send them less information and still book. You know, when a customer trusts you, you can show up in a way that razzle dazzles them. Again, just by being authentically you. It's a beautiful gift and it's a journey to get there. Okay. And I'm still on my journey. We're always getting more ourselves, more authentic and honing our processes. And so that's why I'm going to show you a brand new way that you can write quotes. I'm going to put it together. And it's the kind of thing that I myself would absolutely use and try with a customer. So it's really important for me to, make sure, I never, ever, ever teach, suggest, or come here to talk about something that I don't actually know or do myself. So I would never be like, here's how you could send a quote if I wouldn't actually do this myself. Okay. Again, I think that's why I want to show you how we do this, because when people say, well, how do you send a quote that's not itemized? What does that look like? That question should be answered. You need to know what it looks like. So I'm gonna do that for you. Let's see. I see another comment here. Great to see you and hear you. Thank you so much. I got to say, can I just end by saying I've really missed doing these live streams with you guys. I was a little nervous. Like 10 minutes. I was early. I'm never early. I'm always like flying in the door, barely on time. And I was like, man, I'm feeling nervous. Then as soon as I sat here, I was like, I'm so ready. I'm so not nervous. I've really missed you guys. I hope you know the reason I have not been live here every single week like I was in 2020 is because I'm homeschooling now, virtual schooling. And it's a lot to be virtual schooling and running my floral design business and running realflowerbusiness.com. And also, just in case you didn't know, I started a nonprofit organization with some of my colleagues here in the state of Vermont, but it's called the Wedding and Event Vendor Alliance, and it's focused on increasing positive growth in the wedding industry by really fully embracing what it means to be LGBTQIA+ inclusive in your business and anti-racist in your business, to truly, again, align your beliefs with your business practices. And so doing all of those things, in addition to live streams, was getting a little bit do some live streams when I get good questions from you guys, like, should I charge for proposals? I care very much about, the pulse and the heartbeat of what's going on with you guys as group members, as floralpreneurs. I am in this with you too, right? Like, I used the term floral educator in air quotes when I started this. I am also a florist, right? I don't only teach, I actually book weddings. I'm actually rescheduling clients. I'm actually just as worried as you are about what's going to happen with my June clients and when are they going to be like having whatever reaction they're going to have about whatever plans they're going to have to change, because everybody's pretty quiet right now. So I feel that the same pressure. I am you and you are me and we are all together, right? Cuckoo, cuckoo. Let's see another comment. You are amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I don't know how amazing I am, but I am keeping going. So I'll see some of you, hopefully. I know some of you here are probably Patreon members. I will post this replay in the Patreon group along with the link to check out that behind the scenes look. What I'll do is like I often do in the Patreon training, what you actually get, it's not like me sitting talking like this. It's usually like my screen and what I'm actually sending to clients or how I actually. Hey, it's me interrupting the end of my video because I got cut off because I lost some Wi-Fi. You know how it goes. So anyway, because I got cut off, I just wanted to say that video is actually already over on Patreon now and you can find it there. Thank you so much for watching. Keep doing beautiful work and I will see you next time. Okay, bye-bye.